Naira was not like other girls on her planet. She lived on Selira, a beautiful but quiet world. The sky was purple, the rivers were silver, and the people spoke in soft, musical tones. On Selira, loud sounds were dangerous. Music was allowed, but only soft and slow. Anything fast, noisy, or wild was banned, especially human music. A long time ago, humans had visited Selira. They brought their machines, their energy, and their sound. One day, someone played something called hard rock. It shook the trees and cracked the sky. The elders said it was a weapon. They called it the earth noise. After that, all human sound was forbidden. The humans left, or maybe they were forced to leave. No one knew the full truth. But Naira had heard it once. She was only a child, playing near the edge of the forest. A broken satellite had fallen from the sky. It buzzed, sparked, and played a short audio. Just 5 seconds. A scream of guitars, a voice shouting, a beat like thunder. Naira fell to the ground, covering her ears. She was afraid, but deep inside, something lit up, like a fire she didn't understand. Years passed, but she never forgot the sound. She dreamed about it sometimes. Her heart would race. Her hands would shake. She never told anyone, not even her family. They would think she was sick, or worse, sound-touched. People like that were taken away. Naira became curious. She started visiting the old human zones, abandoned bases, broken machines, forgotten satellites. Most were empty, covered in vines and dust. But one evening, just as the 2 moons rose, she heard it again. A sound, faint but real, coming from inside an old human bunker. She froze, her heart beating like a drum. It was the same wild sound, hard, fast, alive. She wanted to run, but her legs didn't move. She stepped closer. The entrance to the bunker was half open. A strange smell came out, metal, oil, something burning, and the music louder now, booming through the cracks. Guitars, drums, and a voice full of fire. Naira took a deep breath and stepped inside. Her fingers touched the wall, cold and rough. The hallway was dark, lit only by a flickering red light. She walked slowly, following the sound. Then she saw him, a boy, sitting on a metal box. He had dark hair, strange clothes, and something in his hands. A guitar. Not a machine, not a speaker. He was playing it live. The music was coming from him. Naira stared from the shadows, frozen. He didn't see her, or maybe he did. He kept playing. His fingers danced across the strings. Each note was wild, sharp, and beautiful. Naira didn't understand the words, but the feeling, it hit her like lightning. It was loud, yes, but not evil. It was pain and power, joy and anger, all mixed together. It made her feel awake. Suddenly, the boy stopped. He looked up, straight into the shadows where she stood. "I know you're there," he said calmly. His voice was deep and human. "I won't hurt you." Naira stepped back. Her feet made a small sound on the metal floor. The boy smiled just a little, then he started playing again, softer this time, like he was inviting her. She didn't move. She just listened. Her fear was still there, but now it was smaller than her curiosity. The music reached into her chest. It touched something she didn't know was there. It didn't feel like a weapon. It felt like a question, a call. Then a screen lit up on the wall. A small drone camera was active. Its red eye blinked, recording. Naira turned to run. If the elders saw this, if they knew she was here, they would come. They would erase the music, erase him, erase everything. But her feet didn't move. She looked at the boy one last time. He played one more note, a long, strange sound. It stayed in her ears, even as she finally turned and ran. Outside, the wind felt colder. The stars looked brighter. And her world, her quiet, controlled world, no longer felt the same. She had heard the sound again, and now she could never unhear it. The next morning, Naira woke up early, but the sound was still in her head. Not just the music, the boy's voice too. "I know you're there," he had said, like he wasn't afraid of her, like he was used to being watched. She didn't go to her usual work that day. She walked past the markets, past the crystal fields, past the border fence. No one stopped her. No one noticed the storm building inside her chest. She had to know who he was and why he was still on Salira. The bunker looked quiet in daylight. No music now, just the soft hum of old machines. Naira walked slower this time. She didn't want to be seen, but as she stepped inside, a voice greeted her. Back so soon. She froze. He was there, standing by the door with the guitar slung across his back. He looked relaxed, but his eyes were sharp. He smiled just a little. I was hoping you'd come back, he said. Naira didn't answer. She didn't know what to say. No one had ever smiled at her like that before. Not a stranger. Not a human. Who are you? She finally asked. My name's Cade, he said. I'm human, obviously. He chuckled at his own joke. Naira didn't laugh. She looked around. The room was messy, filled with human tech, wires, screens, broken speakers. But it felt alive. It felt free. You shouldn't be here, she said. Humans are banned. I know, Cade replied, but I never left. That made her step back. You're lying, she said. I wish I was, he answered, sitting down on a crate. I was just a kid when the war ended. The evacuation failed. I was left behind with my father. He didn't make it. His voice changed. It lost the humor, grew heavier. I've been alone here for years, he said. Just me, music, and ghosts. He looked up at her. You're the first living soul I've seen in a long time. Naira's anger faded. Now, she felt something else. Something strange. Sadness. He pulled the guitar from his back. It was scratched and dirty, but looked strong. I play to remember Earth, he said. To remember people. Then he strummed a few chords. The sound filled the room, warm and powerful. Naira didn't run. This time she stayed. The song was different, not as loud as before. Softer, slower, but still had that same fire, like it was made of something alive. Then Kay began to sing. His voice was rough, but real. And the words, simple but strange. One word made Naira freeze. Naira. He had said her name, clear and true. She looked at him with wide eyes. How do you know my name? She asked. He kept playing. I didn't, he said. It just fit the song. She didn't believe him. It was impossible. No one knew she'd come here. No one could guess her name, especially not a human boy. But Cade looked just as surprised. He set the guitar down. Maybe the music knew before I did, he said with a shrug. Naira stared at him. This boy, alone in a dead bunker, playing forbidden music, speaking her name without knowing it, was not normal. He was dangerous, but he was also something else, something she didn't have a word for yet. She turned to leave, but before she stepped out, she looked back. Why do you keep playing? She asked. Cade paused, then smiled sadly. Because it keeps me human, he said. Naira walked out into the sunlight. The sky was quiet. The fields were still. But inside her mind, the song kept playing, and in her heart, something was waking up, a memory, a question, a rhythm she didn't want to forget. Back at home, her mother noticed her silence. Her brother asked why she looked different. Naira didn't answer. She went to her room, closed the door, and pressed her ear to the wall. She imagined the sound, imagined the guitar, imagined Cade. For the first time, she didn't feel afraid of the music. She felt afraid of losing it. And somewhere above the clouds, a small drone flew silently, its red eye blinking, watching, recording, sending signals back to the elders. The forbidden sound had returned, and the silence of Salira was beginning to crack. The wind was louder that night, like it carried whispers, like it knew something was coming. Naira stood on the rooftop of her home, eyes on the sky. She couldn't sleep anymore, not after hearing that song again, not after hearing her own name in it. She didn't understand how it happened, how a human boy could sing her name without knowing her. But something deep inside her believed it wasn't an accident. It felt like fate, or maybe a warning. She closed her eyes and hummed the tune, carefully, softly. The sound made her chest feel warm, but also afraid. On Salira, even a whisper of forbidden music could bring punishment. The elders were strict. They said sound was power, and power had to be controlled. But what if they were wrong? The next day, Naira returned to the bunker. This time, she didn't sneak. She walked in like she belonged there. Cade was waiting tuning his guitar. He looked up and smiled. "You came back," he said. "I wasn't sure if I scared you off." "You did," Naira said, sitting down on a nearby crate. "But I came back anyway." Cade laughed softly. "That's how music works," he said. "It scares you first, then it saves you." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Cade handed her a small object. It was smooth, flat, and warm. "What is this?" she asked, turning it in her hand. "A pick," he said. "You use it to play." "I don't know how." "I'll show you." For the first time, Naira touched the guitar. It felt alive. She pressed the strings, her fingers clumsy. The sound was messy, sharp but honest. She laughed. It felt good. "You're terrible," Cade said, grinning. "I know," she replied, smiling back. They played for hours. No rules, no fear, just music. Simple sounds, strange rhythms, little songs that made no sense, but they felt real. Naira was no longer just listening. She was feeling, and that changed everything. But they didn't know they were being watched. Far above, in the mountains, a listening drone hovered in silence. Its sensors scanned every frequency. It picked up the sound from the bunker, the forbidden tones, the human voice, the girl's laugh. Inside the council hall, the elders watched the live feed. Their faces were stone, their eyes full of fear and anger. "This is sound corruption," said Elder Verith. "She is infected." "It's worse than that," said another. "She's learning." A decision was made. Naira would be brought in for questioning. If she refused to confess, she would be silenced. That evening, Naira returned home. Her mother was waiting. So was a council guard. "Naira," her mother said, her voice shaking. "They want to speak with you." Naira's stomach dropped. She looked at the guard, tall and cold. He didn't speak, just nodded once. In the council chamber, the air felt heavy. The elders sat in a circle. Screens floated in the air. One of them played a clip. The sound of her voice. The guitar. The song. "You have broken the law," said Elder Verith. "You touched forbidden sound. You let it touch you." Naira stayed quiet. She didn't want to lie, but the truth would only make it worse. "Who is the human?" they asked. She didn't answer. They repeated the question. She looked them in the eyes. "I won't tell you." The room went silent. The elders stared at each other. Then Elder Verith spoke again. "Then you leave us no choice." She was taken to a holding chamber. No light, no sound, just her heartbeat and a memory of a melody. But she wasn't alone for long. A soft sound echoed in the dark. Not music, not speech. A tap. Someone tapping on the wall. 3 short taps. Too long. Then 3 short again. It was a message. Not in Saliran code, but in human rhythm. It was Cade. Somehow, he had found a way to reach her. She pressed her hand to the wall and tapped back. 3 short. Too long. 3 short. A secret beat in a silent world. A signal that the music was still alive. They had never seen the elders afraid. Until now, Lauren was a council technician. He repaired sound filters and ran background scans. He had worked under the elders for 7 years. He thought he had seen everything. But when the music files came in, recordings from the old human bunker, everything changed. The elders didn't yell. They didn't whisper. They just sat in silence. Their eyes locked on the screen as the guitar played. Their hands tight with tension. "What is this doing to me?" Lauren asked himself. His fingers were trembling. The music wasn't even loud, but it made him feel something dangerous, something beautiful. The elders called it a sickness. They called Naira the source. They called the music a weapon. But Lauren wasn't so sure anymore. Naira stood in the middle of the trial chamber. Her hands were locked in place by magnetic cuffs. The walls were gray, cold, and echoless. Built to kill sound. Built to kill emotion. She looked up at the elders sitting above her. Their faces still like carved stone. The room was full of people, Solirans from every part of the city. But no one spoke. They weren't allowed. Elder Verith rose. "Naira of District 12, he said, "you were charged with sound treason. You played forbidden music. You interacted with a human. And you spread vibration with intent." Naira didn't look down. "I didn't spread danger," she said. "I shared feeling. A low murmur ran through the crowd. The elders raised their hands, and the silence returned. Elder Verith nodded to a technician. Lauren stepped forward, pale and sweating. He placed a small speaker cube in the center of the room. Then he pressed play. Cade's voice filled the air. The guitar followed. The song played in full. The one where he said Naira's name. No one moved. No one coughed. Even the walls seemed to breathe slower. Some people blinked away tears. Others closed their eyes. A few covered their ears, but they didn't leave. When the music ended, silence fell again. But it felt different now. Heavier. Awake. Elder Verith looked furious. You see what it does? He said. It confuses the mind, weakens the spirit. He turned to Naira. You have one choice left. Denounce the human. Reject the music, or you will be exiled beyond the border. Naira closed her eyes. She remembered Cade's voice. The first time she played a note. The rhythm that echoed through her chest. I won't lie, she said. I won't call beauty a crime. The elders whispered among themselves. Some nodded, others frowned. Finally, Verith raised a hand. There is another way, he said, one the elders had not used in many years. You will be given one chance, he said, to prove your sound is not chaos. You must create a piece that joins us, not divides us. It must include our tones and your human filth, and it must move the people without breaking them. Naira's eyes widened. You want me to make a song? Yes, Verith said. A final song. One chance to make your case through sound. If it failed, she would be silenced forever, and the human boy would be hunted down. You have 3 cycles to prepare, the elder said. Do not waste them. They let her go, but she wasn't free. Every step was followed, every move watched. Still, Naira returned to the bunker. To Cade, he was waiting with his guitar and a quiet look on his face. I heard, he said, they want you to write a song that saves your world. Naira nodded. Her voice shook. Yes, and if we fail, we both disappear. Cade took a deep breath. Then let's make it the loudest thing they've ever heard. They worked for hours, melting Solaran tones with human distortion, mixing harmony and chaos, heartbeats and heartbreaks, hope and rage. They wrote with fire in their blood, notes carved from truth, not rules. At the end of the second cycle, Naira looked at Cade. What if they hate it? She asked. What if they shut off? Cade held her gaze. Then at least we made something real, he said, even if it's the last thing they hear. Above them, in the council tower, the speakers were being cleaned. The chamber was prepared, and the silence of Solira waited to be broken. One song, one chance, one final breath before the sound returned. In a dark little room beneath the mountains, a child sat with a broken radio. His name was Ryan, and he was only 10. He had never heard a real song in his life. Only soft tones, quiet chants, and the sound of rain. But tonight, the radio caught something strange. A beat, a voice, a scream, a song. It was wild. It was wrong. And he couldn't stop listening. His sister came running. What is that? She whispered. I didn't know, but it made his heart pound. It made his hands shake. It made him smile. That song traveled across valleys and cities, through old cables and dead satellites. It reached schools, factories, homes, and ships. And with each echo, someone woke up, not with fear, but with feeling. Back in the bunker, Naira was losing sleep. The song was almost done, but something was missing. It's not enough, she said. They want music that unites. But this still sounds like a fight. Cade sat beside her. You can't please the elders, he said. You can only tell the truth. But I want them to feel it, Naira whispered. Not just hear it. She picked up the guitar, strummed it slowly, closed her eyes. She tried to remember how she felt before all this began. The fear, the silence. The first time she heard the sound that changed her. She didn't want to destroy her world. She wanted to wake it up. That's when Cade got an idea. What if we don't play it here? He said. What if we send it out first? Let the people hear it before the elders do. Naira looked at him. Is that even possible? Cade grinned. I've been living in this bunker for years, he said. I've got a transmitter. Old tech, but strong. They rewired everything. Connected the guitar to the system, tested the signal again and again. And when the third cycle began, they went live. Across Solyra, the song burst into the quiet. It started with a soft Solyran hum. Then slowly the guitar joined in. Not loud, not angry, just honest. Then the beat came. Not a human war drum, but a heartbeat. And finally, Naira's voice. It was rough, untrained, but real. She didn't sing perfect notes. She sang truths. The music told her story. The fear, the discovery, the change. It told the world what she felt. What many had started to feel, but never had the words for. And then it ended. A soft echo, like a breath, like a question left in the air. The response came fast. In the city streets, young Solyrans gathered to listen. Some cried, some shouted, some began to sing back. For the first time, voices were rising, not in protest, but in rhythm. People danced in quiet rebellion. They played pots and pans as drums. They sang their own versions. The silence was breaking, but not everyone was moved. In the council tower, alarms rang. The elders stood around the screen, horrified. It has begun, Vareth said. They've infected the people. The military was called. Orders were clear. Find the source, destroy it, and capture the human. Back in the bunker, Cade was packing fast. We have to go, he said. They'll track the signal. But Naira was staring at the monitor. Something wasn't right. We're already too late, she said. Red lights flashed across the walls. A warning tone beeped. A message appeared. Location locked. Enforcers inbound. Cade grabbed her hand. This way, he said. They ran down a narrow hallway. Behind them, the bunker began to shake. Explosions. Static. Smoke. The sound systems burned. The cables melted. The guitar fell behind. And Cade didn't make it to the last door. The blast threw him across the floor. Naira screamed and ran back. But the steel doors dropped between them. No, no, Cade, she shouted. His voice came through a speaker. I'm okay, he said, coughing. They'll take me, but you have to finish it. Naira slammed her fists against the wall, tears in her eyes. I can't, she said. Not without you. You have to, he said, because this song isn't mine anymore. It's ours. It's theirs. And then the line went silent. Naira escaped through the old water tunnels. The guitar was gone. The bunker was gone. But the music had already spread. And now the people were waiting. In 3 days, she would face the council again. Alone, on the central stage, live across the planet. And they would ask her for the final song. She had no instrument, no partner, and no safety net. Only her voice. And everything it carried. They called him Echo. No one knew his real name. He lived inside the code, inside the council's servers. A shadow, a ghost, a virus with a purpose. He was just a tech apprentice once, until he heard the song, until it made him cry. Now, he wasn't a tech anymore. He was a leak. Inside the Elder's tower, Echo sat behind a stolen terminal, fingers moving fast, eyes wide, breath slow. He cracked the firewall, pulled the latest secret order, saw the truth. Cade had been captured. Naira was listed as audioactive threat. The final broadcast would be a trap. And so, Echo did what he always did. He hit send. The message went out across hidden channels. The truth spread faster than the council could shut it down, and the world began to burn. Naira hid in the underground city of Varn, a place full of silence breakers, dreamers, and outcasts. People who danced without music, who hummed tunes in the dark, waiting for someone to say it was okay to feel. She sat with the rebels. Her hair burned at the tips from smoke. Her voice almost gone, but her spirit still alive. They had seen the broadcast, heard the song, felt the loss. Cade was gone, taken, maybe worse. But the people didn't forget. They remembered the beat, the fire, the freedom. They began building again. Not weapons, not machines, but instruments. Old drums, broken flutes, steel strings. Their sound was raw, ugly, powerful. Naira watched them play. She didn't lead. She just listened. I'm no one, she said quietly. I don't even have a guitar. You don't need one, said an old man. You are the song now. That night, a rebel scout returned with news. The council had prepared a global stage, a live broadcast platform under the tower. They were going to make Naira perform, not to free the people, but to control them again. They'd rewrite her music, use her as a puppet, then silence her for good. But the rebels had another plan. At the same moment, far away, Cade sat in a prison cell, his hands bruised, his voice raw, but he still tapped rhythms on the floor. Top, top, top. 2 beats, pause, 3 beats. The pattern Naira would know, the code only she would understand. He didn't know if she was alive, but he kept tapping, because the silence was worse. Sometimes, the guards played noise-canceling tones to block his thoughts. Sometimes they laughed at his music, but sometimes, just sometimes, even they listened. The day came. The final stage was set, a giant platform in front of the council tower, broadcast to every home, every zone, every orbiting ship. People gathered, not with cheers, not with chants, but with stillness. They waited, hearts pounding, breath held, and then Naira stepped into the light. She wore no crown, no ornament, only a worn-out jacket and bare hands. A single mic stood before her. No guitar, no band, just her. The elders watched from above, smiling, thinking they had won. Naira looked at the crowd, then up at the sky, and for one moment, she said nothing. Then she tapped her foot. 1 beat, 2 beats, 3. The same rhythm Cade tapped from his cell, and people across the planet joined in. Drummers in the mines, kids in the schools, old rebels with rusted pans. They tapped, clapped, stomped. The council's speakers tried to block the sound, but it was too late. The world was the instrument now, and Naira, with no guitar, began to sing. Her voice cracked. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. She sang about fear, about silence, about meeting a boy who played a sound she didn't understand, and falling in love with the noise. She sang not to the people, but with them. The guards froze. The drones jammed. The signal couldn't be stopped. And miles away, in his dark cell, Cade smiled. He could hear her, even through the walls. Elder Vareth stood up in rage. Cut the broadcast, he screamed. End this. But no one moved. Even the text stood still, tears in their eyes. One of them whispered, I think I remember this feeling. And then, as the final chorus echoed into the stars, the tower's power grid shut down. The people didn't. The silence didn't return. Because the war was no longer for control. It was for the right to feel. Before the music, there was silence. Salira had lived in it for centuries. A silence full of rules, of fear, of control. People had forgotten how to cry in public, forgotten how to laugh too loud, forgotten how to feel. But on this day, they remembered. After the broadcast, the council tower was empty. The elders were gone. Some fled, some stepped down, some simply disappeared. No one hunted them. No one cared. The power they held wasn't taken. It was ignored. The people didn't need orders now. They had rhythm. Naira stood at the edge of the ruins, the same place where she first heard the human sound. The forest was quiet, but not silent. Birds chirped, winds whistled. A child somewhere was singing off-key. It was perfect. Behind her, the rebel camp was filled with noise. Laughter, conversation, clumsy instruments. They were building a new stage, one that no council could shut down. But Naira wasn't smiling. Not yet, because someone was still missing. Cade sat in the dark, chained, starving, but awake, always awake. He didn't know the war was over, didn't know the elders were gone, didn't know the world had changed. All he knew was the echo of a song in his mind. Naira's voice, the way she sang without fear. He tapped again. 1 beat, paused, 2 beats, then 3. He would keep playing, even if no one heard. But someone did. A small team of rebels, led by a boy named Rhine, the same child who first heard the song on a broken radio, had tracked the old council files. They found the prison. They broke the locks. They carried Cade out with shaking hands. He couldn't speak at first. He just looked at them, eyes wide, tears falling. And then, he smiled. Naira didn't believe it at first. When the message came through, he's alive. She dropped everything. ran to the shuttle port, didn't even grab her shoes. She reached the rebel landing pad just as they arrived. The doors opened, and there he was, thinner, weaker, but smiling. Still him. She ran to him, didn't say a word, just hugged him, tight, long, like letting go would end the world. Cade whispered into her ear, "Nice jacket." She laughed, and the sound was more powerful than any song she ever sang. Weeks later, they stood together on a news stage. Not a trial platform, not a bunker, but an open hilltop under a blue sky. People gathered from across the planet. No guards, no drones, just hearts and hands, ready to feel. Cade picked up his repair guitar. Naira stood beside him with a hand drum carved from Solarian stone. But before they played, she turned to the crowd. "This isn't our concert," she said. "It's yours. We don't want to be the only sound. We want to hear you." And for the first time in Solarian history, the crowd didn't watch. They joined. Voices lifted, drums pounded, feet stomped the dirt. Even the wind joined in. And somewhere deep in the planet's core, the silence cracked for good. They didn't call it a revolution. They called it a resonance. A change that started not with violence, but with one girl's fear, one boy's song, and a sound so human it couldn't be controlled. In the years that followed, music became the new language of Solira. Schools taught rhythm before math. Councils were replaced by circles of artists, scientists, and dreamers. No one was forced to feel, but no one was told to stop either. Cade and Naira traveled city to city, not as heroes, but as reminders that feeling something deeply is not weakness. It's life. And every night before they slept, they played one quiet song together. No crowd, no spotlight, just two souls and a beat that never died. Because in a world that once feared noise, one voice made it free, and one love made it eternal. The end, but not the silence.